Hi, I'm Breck, creator of the Bedtime History YouTube channel and podcast. 5 years ago, I started creating family-friendly, relaxing bedtime stories from history for kids. Since then, the podcast and YouTube channel have taken off to great success with fans worldwide. Along with podcasting, I love to travel with my family and explore new places. I'm the history geek, and my wife, Nan, is the travel planner, and our 4 kiddos love coming along for the adventure. In this episode, we visit the beautiful state of Washington in the United States. My wife was born in Washington, so we're headed there for a family reunion. We're excited for our kids to see their cousins and explore this magnificent state for the first time. Our first day, we headed into Seattle. Seattle is home to over 720 million people and famous for its coffee, grunge rock scene, the Space Needle, and tech industry giants like Amazon and Microsoft. Our first stop was Kerry Park to take in some breathtaking views of the city. We enjoyed playing at the park, strolling through the neighborhood, and taking in all of the beautiful homes, flowers, and greenery. So much green is eye-opening for a family from the deserts of Arizona. Venturing down into the city, we started the day off at the aquarium, which is right on the waterfront. First was the Life on the Edge exhibit, where after washing your hands, you can interact and touch specimens of Puget Sound sea life. This includes sea urchins, hermit crabs, sea stars, and anemones. Next up was the Tropical Pacific exhibit, featuring a host of exotic and colorful fish, such as tangs, wrasses, puffers, and triggerfish. This was definitely one of our favorite exhibits. The other exhibits we enjoyed were an underwater dome, puffins, seals, and really adorable otters the kids could have watched goof around all day.
So weird.
Oh, he's grumpy coming out of that corner.
He's got a big lower jaw. Such a huge. After the aquarium, we took a walk along the waterfront of the beautiful Puget Sound. We'd worked up quite an appetite at the aquarium, so of course had to make a stop at Ivar's for some seafood and fries. Ivar's isn't only great for the meal, but for the food you get to share with the local wildlife, the seagulls. We also had to make a stop at the Curiosity Shop to pick up a few souvenirs and see oddities like a rabbit-headed bird, a mummy, and a merman. Do you think they were real? From there we crossed the street and took an elevator up to the world-famous Pike Place Market. In the late 1800s, the Klondike gold rush quickly turned Seattle into a busy city to support the gold miners. A few years later, in 1907, Pike Place Market was formed when the city decided to create a public market where local farmers could sell their goods to skip the wholesalers. Since then, it has only grown in size and is now home to hundreds of shops selling fresh seafood, produce, and every kind of good you can imagine. We bought some fresh strawberries and peaches and then feasted on some tasty donut holes before heading to one of the ickiest places I have ever been. Wait for it. The Gum Wall, Gross, right? Yes, that's all bubble gum.
Oh, not a fan.
It smells like as gross as yeah.
Oh, I feel actually kind of sick. This is nasty. Don't touch anything.
Later in the day, we were looking for a park to take the kids to. I found pictures of Gasworks Park, located on the north shore of Lake Union. So when I looked at this park online, I assumed it featured some kind of huge steampunk-themed playground equipment. But later I laughed at myself when we arrived to find the remains of a coal gasification plant. Yes, there was still playground equipment, but this wasn't it. That said, the plant is very interesting to look at, something out of a fantasy steampunk novel, and we had a lot of fun walking around and checking it out. What's also interesting about the plant is even though it doesn't work anymore, it's the only remaining coal gasification plant left in the United States. It operated from 1906 to 1956 and turned coal into gas that the city used for lighting and heating homes and cooking. After the plant was shut down, city architects decided to turn the area into a park for its beautiful views of Lake Union and the Seattle skyline. And yes, the views here are amazing.
Hold on.
Next, we drove 15 minutes from Gasworks Park to the Ballard Locks. As you can see on the map, the canal connects Lake Union to Puget Sound. But because the water levels were different between the two bodies of water, locks were created to move boats up and down while moving them back and forth. Locks like this are used all over the world to provide the same service, the most famous lock being the one used in the Panama Canal. But the Ballard Locks, completed in 1916, are special because more boats go through these locks than any other lock in the United States. And it was our family's first time to see a lock in action, so we were fascinated to see the boats moving through them, going up and down. In the same area are the salmon ladders, where you can see salmon moving between the lake and ocean, but unfortunately they were closed for renovation. But we did get to see a school of salmon. After a long day in Seattle, we took a ferry to one of the nearby islands. As you can see from the map, Seattle is technically located on the Pacific Ocean, but is in a sound called Puget Sound and is surrounded by all of these beautiful islands. People ferry back and forth between the mainland and these islands either by foot or by driving their car onto the ferry. On the ferry, we enjoyed a chance to sit down and enjoy the beautiful ocean breeze and take in the sights of Seattle waterfront and city from the water. We hope you enjoyed following us on our adventures to Seattle. Be sure to check out part 2 of our trip to Washington, where we venture outside the city to Anacortes Island, Snoqualmie Falls, Fort Casey, and Leavenworth. Also be sure to check out the Bedtime History YouTube channel with hundreds of videos about people, places, and events from history, and the Bedtime History podcast with new episodes released every Monday.